Hello everyone, it's Miss Thompson. So we're going to create an analog clock, something like this. And we're going to use it and be able to tell time on an analog clock. Because of course, we don't have analog clocks in our homes, we have digital clocks. But we're going to create this clock here today. Before we get started, we want to head to the restroom or the kitchen to wash our hands because we want to have those hands nice and clean. I'm going to use some sanitizer because I wash my hands before starting the video. And I want to make sure I get sanitizer on both sides of my hands. And if you are using sanitizer, you want to make sure you let it dry all the way before completing your next activity. So next, I'm going to place a photo of all the materials that I will be using to create the clock. And if you don't have these materials in your home, you can substitute them for whatever you feel is best that you do have in your home. Okay, so now the first thing we want to do is take our paper, any color you choose. I would suggest 3 different colors, but if you only have white paper in the home, you can use white papers, and then you can utilize different colored pencils or crayons or markers for this process. But I'm going to use 3 different colors papers. I'm going to take my first paper and I'm going to use my paper plate and I'm going to put it in the center of the paper and I'm going to draw a circle. After we draw our circle, we want to cut it out and we should end up with a circle like this. Then we're going to repeat the process on our second colored paper. We want to use the plate, trace the circle, and then we want to cut the circle out. So then we should end up with 2 circles. Now we should have 2 circles cut out. Next, we're going to use our ruler to help partition our circles in 2 equal parts. First, we want to take our ruler and we want to partition our circle into a half. We want to draw a vertical line partitioning the circle to make a half. Then we want to take our ruler and now we want to draw a horizontal line down the middle of the circle. So we're going to repeat this process, drawing equal lines in each part of our circle. This will help us with labeling our hours and our minutes on our clock. So with our first circle, we want to label our hours. Remember, we count hours by ones. So we want to start with 12 at the top just to help us keep our numbers in order. And then we're going to go to the right of 12 and we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we're going to repeat the process with our minute circle. But remember, our minutes is just a little different. We're going to count our minutes by 5s. So we want to start with 60 at the top, and we're going to go to the right of 60, and we want to label 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So we want to skip count by those 5s on our minute clock. Now we want to take and we want to use our scraps of paper, and we're going to create a minute hand and an hour hand. Now, with this, we want our minute hand to be the same color as our minute circle. So we want to use the scraps of our orange paper. So we're going to use the scraps of our orange paper, and we want to draw a minute hand. Now, remember, our minute hand is longer than our hour hand. So this is where you're going to use your ruler again, and you want to measure a rectangle that is 4 inches long. So you want to measure a rectangle that's 4 inches long. It should be about this long. And then at the end of that rectangle, we want to draw a triangle. Remember, a triangle have 3 angles. 1, 2, 3. And that triangle is going to connect with that rectangle, and we're going to make our minute hand. And then we want to label that minute hand, so we can take our pencil and we can write minute on the top of it. That's M-I-N-U-T-E. Minute hand. Now, you can use your third sheet of paper to create your hour hand, or if you want to decide to use the scraps from your first circle to create your hour hand, you're more than welcome to. It's up to you. But I use my third sheet, and this time my hour hand is going to measure 3 inches long. So you want to use that ruler to create a rectangle that is 3 inches long. And then you're going to repeat that process of creating a triangle as well with your hour hand. And then you want to label that hand hour. That's H-O-U-R. It's a little hard to read because I wrote it in pencil, but be sure to trace over your hour word and your minute word with your marker, whatever color marker you choose, to go over it with that. So now you want to take your hour circle and you want to use your scissors to cut in between each hour. Remember, don't cut along the lines, because if you cut along the lines, it's going to cut the hours. You want to cut between each hour. This is going to help us with telling our time when we put it on top of our minute circle. So now that we have cut between all of the hours on our hour circle, we want to place it right on top of that minute circle. And then we're going to place that down. Next, we want to grab our hour hand and our minute hand. So you want to grab both of those. Place the hour hand on top of the minute hand. Next, we want to use our scissors to poke just a tiny little hole in the middle of both of them. I'm going to use something sharper. Please, guys, don't use anything sharper. If you need something sharper, let an adult poke a hole in the middle of it. So I'm going to use my little tool to poke a hole in the bottom of my minute and my hour hand. So just a tiny little hole that we can see in. Now I want to take that hour hand and minute hand and I want to place it on top of my clock. Now this time I want to go right in the middle of that hole that we already started, and we want to make sure the hole goes through both hands and both circles. Like so. Now we want to take our fastener. If you don't have a fastener, that's this little thing here. If you don't have a fastener, you can use a stick pin, or you can use a bobby pin and stick it through the hole. You just need something where you can make sure you can bend it towards the back of the clock. And this will help our hands move around the circle on our clock. And this is how it looks on the front. And we should be able to move our hands around the clock. Like so. And now we have a finished clock. And now we have a finished clock. We will use this clock later in our activities to help us again with determining what activities we do in the AM and PM. Also telling time on a digital and an analog clock. If there are any topics you would like me to cover, please leave them in the comment section. If there are any questions or anything you need clarified that I mentioned in the video, also leave that in the comment section. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in to Miss Thompson's Math Corner.